Okay, good. That's nice. So you see what we have done here is that we have created customer DAO and we have used just one single service of JDBC template. As you can see this, we have used JDBC template.query. Now there are various different methods available using JDBC template. And what do you do usually? What do you do? In your real life applications, you select data. I'm sorry, you select data and then you insert data and then you update. I'm sorry, you select, insert, update, delete, and then you also do what, work with transactions as well. Now all of these options are available here, all of these features. So one way is to access the database directly using your JDBC. I repeat, one way is to access the database directly writing your own JDBC code. And the other way is using JDBC template. Why do we use JDBC template? There are several reasons. The very first reason is the ease. The very first reason is the convenience. Instead of we writing each and everything right from the scratch, it is the JDBC template which does all the templating work. All the boilerplate code is written internally is written in JDBC template. All the boilerplate code that is called, right? What is boilerplate code? Plate code. What is that? All the code that is repetitive. All the code that is anyways there not in one class but several other classes, you end up writing the same piece of code with some difference. So when you fire a select statement to the database, what changes is, tell me what changes. What changes? The name of the table would change, and the way you are processing each and every row that is retrieved from the table in the database, the way you process that row, here you are creating an object of class customer and putting the data. If it is select star from supplier, if it is select star from product, if it is select star from invoice, then in that case the way you process it, you take the values of the respective fields from those tables, and the way you create an object and return it back, that changes. But then creating the connection objects remains the same. Statement object creation remains the same. Executing the query concept remains the same. Looping through the result set remains the same. Only what changes is this part. So instead of you writing all of this code, which is boilerplate code, repetitive code, it has written all of this code in the template itself. In the template itself. So when you go to this query, you see it, they have of course designed it really very nicely, and then they have got all of those methods are here which provides the implementation of these functions that are there. And many a times it is not just simply selecting star from customer, but you would select some specific set of fields, and maybe based on the where clause as well. And where it is, when it is based on the where clause, you may have question marks as well. You remember the parameters? Correct. You remember the parameters, there will be parameters as well. So all of these features are provided by JDBC template. Dot. You can see as far as query is concerned, it has got so many. See, row mapper and row callback handler is available. Row mapper, and then you can pass some objects as a parameter as well. That is also available. Prepared statement creator is also available. Prepared statement creator is like, it's not just simply the query, but you prepare the statement as well and then you return it back. So all of these functions are available. See, query, there are so many sophisticated query functions are available. Don't worry, there will hardly be a need for you to work on JDBC template, because we have something more advanced than JDBC template. So we will move on step by step. We are going to move on. So the very first thing, the way we access the database was what? Tell me. So we have been writing our DAO class. Come on, friends, yes or no? We have been writing our DAO class since I believe since last week, Friday, right? We started writing a DAO class, and or maybe from on Monday this week we started writing the DAO class, perhaps. Whatever the case is. So in the customer DAO class, what is it that we wrote? We write, to start with, we wrote direct JDBC statements, right? Directly. Then we started using Spring. So this was our first way of getting started with it. B, we started working with Spring. But with Spring, there was a special library that Spring provides, and that's called Data JDBC library. Of course, the full name of the library is like, you have called Spring Boot Starter Data JDBC. Otherwise, this actually refers to this library. Can you see this? Since I am using Spring Boot has got its own dependency management system, and it has got its own way of versioning. So this current version of Spring Boot that we are using 2.5.1 refers to, I repeat, refers to the Spring Data JDBC. So this is the actual library. This is the actual library. org.springframework.data spring-data JDBC 2.2.1. Right? So it is this library that contains the classes that we have used. So what is one of the classes that we have used? We have used which class? Come on, friends, tell me. We have used class called JDBC template, isn't it? We have used that class JDBC template. So you see this? I'll go to JDBC template from here and template. You see the JDBC template, which jar file it is coming from? org Spring Framework JDBC 5.3.8. You see this? This is the jar file that it is coming from. You can see this here. All right, it's coming from this jar file. Correct. So we have got dependencies, we have got Spring Boot starter, and then we've got this, and then you can see this. All of these are the jar files that we have got. See this 5.3.8. Omitted for duplicate because it is already included through some other dependency. Well, the point here is that we have started using Spring Data JDBC, and you have got many things like JDBC template. You also have something like, you see, I said you have got so many things to do. You have so many things to do. You've got to select. So I've just shown you select. Insert also is there. So how would you insert? So you will find JDBC template dot execute. Here you can very well specify the statement that you would like to execute. That's it. No need of getting the connection. No need of preparing the statement or anything. Just simply say execute, and whatever your SQL statement is, that will be executed, whether insert, update, or delete. How do you manage transactions? I say JDBC template dot execute in or transaction. I'm sorry, JDBC template dot. It's in execute in a transaction. No, I'm so sorry about it. I will have to get the transaction template. Sorry, if I want to manage, I'll say auto wired, and I'll say transaction template. You can see this transaction template. Can you see this here? And I'll say transaction template. Okay, again, do I need to create an object of this, or it is the responsibility of your Spring framework to inject the dependency? Tell me, do I need to, or it will be done by Spring framework? What do you think? It will be done by the Spring framework, isn't it? Yes, the Spring framework. Okay, it will be done by Spring framework, isn't it? Just give me a moment, friends. Okay, coming back here, see this, friends. So you have Spring Data JDBC, right? This is what we have used, and in that we have JDBC template as well as the transaction template. So it is this transaction template. You can see this. It is this transaction template that I can use. I'll say transaction template dot. You can see this execute here. So I will say execute, and I will write a transaction callback. I'm just giving you an overview. Don't worry so much about this. As I said, you will hardly be working on this in your real life projects because there are more sophisticated ways of working with all of these things. Right? You see this here. I close this, and then here I can write my statements using JDBC template. So I say JDBC template. JDBC template dot, I'll say execute, maybe some string, maybe some insert statement, then execute, maybe some some other insert, update, delete, and everything will be either committed, or else if I throw an exception from here anywhere, it will all be automatically rolled back. So see the elegant way in which I can work with my database through JDBC, but Instead of directly working with JDBC, I will be working with the transaction template and JDBC template and transaction template, these kind of components provided by Spring. Especially when I say Spring, which library of Spring? Spring Data JDBC. You're getting the point, friends? I am not going through each one of that functionality of JDBC template. It will be too much for us to cover. And as such, as I've been telling you, that there are better ways of working with data than this Spring Data JDBC. So first we started with JDBC plain, then Spring Data JDBC, and now we're going to get to more sophisticated way, as I've been saying now since few minutes, and that is Data, Spring Data JPA, JPA, Java Persistence API. Right? What does JPA stand for? Come on, friends. What does JPA stands for? Java Persistence API. All right, that's what it stands for, Java persistency. Now here it is a specification. This JPA is a specification, and you will find, where do you find all the Java specifications? Tell me, friends, which site? Which site? I did share that with you all. Come on, which site? You remember which site? No, 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 not java.io. ये java.io किधर है? किधर है java.io? There is nothing like java.io. No, not spring.io. JCP, yes, and India. JCP, right? JCP, right? JCP.org. So I'll go to that jcp.org. Yes, correct, Jhansi. Very good. And then here, let me try doing this JPA. I hope it searches by JPA. Okay, the GSR was not found. And then, okay, I'll just simply say JPA JSR on JCP. All right, here you go. You see this? JSR 338. It is JSR Java Persistency 2.2. It is JSR 338. So if I would have searched for 338, it would have given me the same results. Here you go. See, I am on JCR 38. And if you download these jar files from here, there is an option to download the page. And from the download page, if you download, you'll get all the interfaces that are declared on the face of this JPA. So this JPA helps you to do, it makes your life all the more easier. It helps you to access the database, right? And there is a specific mechanism of accessing the database with JPA. It's fun, it's easy, it's super fun. And you will love to learn this JPA, right? So we are going to get started with this. But then, as I said, this is the API. So where is the implementation? By default, when I start with, a Spring Boot based application, this JPA, I won't write it as D. Okay, let me write it as D. Spring Data JPA implementation. I'm saying, see, implementation by default, though you can change the implementation, by default implementation is provided by what? Is provided by Hibernate. By default, Hibernate. Hibernate is a framework. It's not an API. This is an API. Hibernate is a framework. Hibernate is a very, very strong and the most opinionated framework on the face of this earth when it comes to ORM with Java. When I say ORM, what it really means by ORM, correct? So see, let's talk more about, yes, object relational model, correct? ORM Hibernate. Okay. Okay, ORM, Hibernate, and I'll say JPA and Hibernate. Got this? Correct? So let me do away with this and then correct. Perfect. So you see, we create our applications and those are our Spring Boot applications, right? I will instead copy this and then paste this here. So we again write Spring, our same Spring application, and we use customer DO and we used JDBC template. Now, instead of using the JDBC template, I'm not going to use that JDBC template. Okay, I'm not going to use it. And this is not how I will be using, my Spring JPA. So I have the complete JPA API, right? I have JPA API, correct? This is my JPA API. I'll mark it as green because it is related to the database. I will use the same color for the database related stuff. Okay, so this is our JPA, correct? JPA. So this is an API, and my entire application, all the components that I write, I repeat, all the components that I write, those components will be dependent on the JPA, the persistency API. It will invoke services on the abstractions, and we have already learned what an abstraction is. So my classes will be dependent on abstractions that are declared on JPA, will not be dependent on the implementation. But what is the implementation and the default implementation provided? The default implementation provided is from Hibernate, right? The default implementation is Hibernate, correct? So I'll just reduce this back to 12, and this is just okay, 12. This is the implementation provided. So this is just the declaration of the services. The implementation is provided here with the help of Hibernate. Hibernate is completely compliant with the JPA API. So it is this Hibernate. Okay, let me put it like this. This is the implementation. Let me increase the size of it in here. This is good, right? I don't use this now. I will be, so see, this was the library that was earlier there. This was the library, but here, this will not be the library. Which library I'm going to use in order to work with this JP? Which library am I going to use? Now you see, I'm going to explain something very interesting to you. All there with me, friends? All there with me? Very good. Likita, you're there? I'm sorry, don't mind. I was a bit harsh. I'm sorry about it. Don't lose heart. You've got to pay attention and you've got to understand each and everything, and you're going to get it running on your machine as well. Don't worry. All there? Nikita, where are you? Good. Very nice. Very nice. Good. Okay. Now, what's the new thing? What's the new thing? What's the new thing? I'll tell you. A bit of a tangent here. I repeat, a bit of a tangent. I will come back to JDBC API, everything else, in a moment. But you see, which branch are we working with? So whatever I have done so far, let me commit it. Okay, getting started with JPA, or else concluded, I would say, JDBC Spring Data JDBC. Laptop stuck for a while, so late response, don't mind. No problem. That's okay. Okay, so concluded Spring Data JDBC. And let me commit this. Okay, so it's committed. It's getting committed, committed, committed. Okay, it's committed. It's committed. Now, what I want to do, my dear friends, I hope you are all there with me, friends. What I want to do is, I want to preserve the code that I have written up till now. And I also want to continue writing the new code. But now when I write new code, for example, if I go to my project and if I go to my, pom.xml file, I wanted to remove this and I want to add something new. So what will happen is I will end up losing the code that I have written up till here. And then I start overwriting the code. But what if I want to maintain both the codes? Both the sources rather, or okay, over here. The best term is, and the right term would be both the versions. Both the versions. I want to keep this code as well as the new code that I will be writing, and I will keep on making loads of changes, topic by topic, topic by topic. So you know what I'm going to do? I'll click right mouse button on my master branch. I'll say, please create a new branch for me, new branch from selected, and I give the name of the branch as, I'll say topic slash, okay, and I'll say JPA is the name of the topic. Now when I say create, it creates a new local branch for me. You see this topic JPA, this is the current branch. See this icon here, this is the current branch. Now what does this mean? This means that if I come back over here, see this, if I come back over here, now I'm on which branch? Always you will get to see here on which branch you are. Can you see my mouse pointer here, here, they go ting, ting over here, right? See, right, you can see this is the branch. You will always get to see which is your current branch here as well, correct? So even if you close this, and if you minimize this, say for example, I say minimize this, but here you will always get to see whichever is your current branch, correct? Right? You'll get to see that, and you can always say get out here, and then you can switch over to the branches and stuff. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove this code. I'm going to comment it. In fact, actually, I would rather like to comment it, you know, and I will comment this code, and I'm adding new code. So I'll say instead of JDBC, I'll say data JPA. You got this? I'm saying data JPA. I go back here, I go to Maven, I say refresh. Okay. And you see it's bringing the jar files. We will talk a lot about Maven and where the jar files are pulled, where are they kept, what is the entire science behind it. We will discuss. Okay. Can you see this now? I have got data JPA instead of JDBC. I've got data JPA instead of JDBC. Okay, this is what I have. But now you see, I want to switch back to the code that I had written earlier. So what I'm going to do, I will first commit this code. Whatever the code that I have is, I will commit this code. I'll say getting started with JPA. This is the comment message. And which branch I am on, friends? Which is the branch? Come on, tell me which is the branch. What is the name of the branch, friends? What is the name of the branch? Fast. What is the name of the branch? No, 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 not JPA. Good try, not JPA. It is topic/JPA. Sabash, Anikendu. Very good. Very good. It is topic/JPA. So when now I commit and push, this code is getting pushed to what? To JPA. Sorry, I mean that particular branch. That particular branch. If you want, I can show you here as a result of, so I'll say, bit bucket. Okay, so the recent branch is this. It shows me all the recent updates that I have done. And you see this here, I go to branches. Can you see there is a new branch created called topic JPA, which is pushed just 28 seconds ago, right? But I have both the branches. Master was pushed 4 minutes ago and topic JPA was pushed 38 seconds ago. We see this. I have to master in this. This is my local and this is the remote. This shows me whatever is there remote and this shows me whatever is there local. Got it? What if I want to? Now, say if I go to my pom.xml file, this is how my pom.xml file looks like. Okay, I have commented JDBC and I have I have put new dependency called JPA, but then see what is happening now. What's going to happen now? I switch back to master branch. Suppose while talking, 2 days down the line, I want you to go back to the source code which we had written on today. Like for example, it's Wednesday today. So I say checkout. Now when I check out, you see this is which version of pom.xml file am I getting? See, it's still JDBC, you know. It's a different branch. Come on. Each branch have its own source code. It's a different branch. समझ में आ रहा है? Every one of y'all? Which is the current branch? Tell me now. Look at my IDE and you know where to look for to give me the current branch. Which is the current branch? Yes, master is the current branch. Correct. Usually masters, I will explain everything to you, when we talk about DevOps, master branches are always reserved for production. You never make changes to master branches directly. I repeat, you never make changes to the master branch directly. You will never update the master branch directly. It is always for production, and we will discuss that on the last day. All right, in the next week. So I go back here and what should I really continue with? What do you think I would be interested in continuing? I want to keep my master branch as it is. And now for every new major topic that I pick up, I will be creating a new branch so that you can always switch between branches. You can always see, I say checkout and now this is the branch. You just need to say checkout. You see this is the branch now. I just need to say click right mouse button. So if this is the branch that I want to check out, right mouse check out. If this is the one, then right mouse check out. This is already checked out and hence it is not giving me the option of checking out. Right? And I am on topic JPA. I hope this tangent was helpful and you are clear with this. Coming back here, friends, so I'll go to my draw.io. So which is the library, my dear friends? Tell me which library is being used here now. Is it JDBC library or data JPA library? Come on. It's data JPA library. Very good. It's the JPA library. So you see the library now is different. And this Hibernate is a framework. This Hibernate is again a framework, but I'll keep this, like this and say text. Okay, this looks good. So your Hibernate is the implementation. This is the implementation. I'll say simple IMPL so that you remember that this is the implementation of JPA. the default implementation of JPA. And you see this data JPA library that we picked up and we used in pom.xml file. So in my application now, I have dependencies on this JPA. Now let me go back here. Let me again go back to Maven and show you that, I've got data JPA, and that data JPA in turn, you see this, that data JPA in turn has got a dependency. Can you see that on Hibernate, friends? You see this? Hibernate, right? So Hibernate is definitely there in the class path now. Hibernate is there in the class path. And Hibernate, friends, by itself is a framework. You must always remember this. Hibernate by itself is a framework, right? It is in itself a framework. Hibernate. It's quite possible. It's quite possible that I may not use Spring Boot at all. I repeat, I may not use Spring Boot at all, and I may just simply write a plain simple Java application. I repeat, plain simple Java application. By putting Hibernate in the class path, I will be able to use the features of Hibernate. So what is Hibernate? Hibernate is an ORM, friends. First and foremost, okay, this is not dependent on Spring Boot. Okay, not dependent on Spring Boot. As I said, you dependent on Spring Boot. Dependent, yes. I'll change this back to. Okay, so this is not dependent on Spring Boot at all. I could have, as I said, right, I could have written a plain Java application and put Hibernate in the class path and still continue working on it. This is too loud. 15 is just fine. Okay, I can do this. And let me remove this from here. Instead, let me put this like this and say Hibernate. I'll say bold. 12 was just fine. What is this? 17. Okay. I'll make this 17. This is okay. Right? So my Hibernate, and I don't need to write IMPL here. I'll just simply say Hibernate is by itself as a framework. This is the framework that I have. And in this Hibernate framework, let me remove this. This is better. So what are the important points? It's not dependent on Spring Boot at all. Spring Boot uses Hibernate, not that Hibernate uses Spring Boot. I could have just simply used it in a plain Java application, right? It is an ORM. This is an ORM. What do you mean by ORM? It's an object relational mapping tool. Object relational mapping tool. Now, what do you mean by object relational mapping tool? This is interesting, friends. If you miss this, there is a problem. That means I did not explain nicely and you did not attend nicely. Okay, so you've got to understand this. All right, so please see. I go back to my application and I would like you to recollect the way we have written the customer DAO. In earlier cases, we had used JDBC, then later on we used Spring Data JDBC. That's fine. But you see this, especially, take a look at this. We have the data coming from the database. Come on, say yes. We have the data coming from the database as a result of the select statement. Say yes. Okay. And it is we through our program, it is we who write our code with respect to how the data, that is the relational data retrieved from the database, will go into the object. It is we who decide that I will create a new object of class customer, not product, not supplier, not invoice, not order, not purchase. I will create an object of class customer if the select statement is for customer. If it is select star from customer, we fire the select statement. Okay, I understand it is the JDBC template that is supposed to fire the select statement. Okay, hope I'm audible to you all. Audible? Yeah, okay. So it is we, correct, super, thank you. So we are firing, we know which select statement to fire. right? And it is the JDBC template who is supposed to fire the select statement, but at least we supply the select statement. You can see that for yourself over here. We supply the select statement. Then we get the data and we create a new object of customer and we put the data ID, name, and address in customer. Now imagine in real life applications, do you think there will be just three fields? Come on, just three fields? There can be n number of fields, maybe 20, maybe 25 fields. What do you think I will have to do? I will have to keep on writing 25 lines of code out here. 25 lines of code out here, isn't it? So this is bad. Sorry. This is bad. What I want a framework. Sorry. Please listen to this very carefully. I want a framework such that I tell the framework that you see, I have got a class called customer. Note my words, word by word. Make note of what I'm saying. I want a framework to which I provide the information that you see in my application. I have a class called customer, and this customer class happens to be an entity. What do you mean by entity? A business entity, correct? A business entity. This is a business. Now, come on. I hope I don't need to explain to you what is a business entity. I had shown you Mother India. I had shown you that Lalaji, right? In his business, the business entity was customer. And in our business in banks, the business entity is again a customer, right? We store it in the database. We used to store it in the books. So those classes that exist in business, whether you have a software or you do not have a software, is a business entity, right? So I need a framework once again. I need a framework to which I can provide the information, provide the information through annotation, saying that so and so class in my application is a business entity, and that framework must automatically assume that the name of the table in the database will be customer, which is exactly the case. 192.168. What was it? I forgot. 192.168.29.83. 83 user. Yes, connect successfully. So you see this in this database. So I will go here. You can see this option here, and I'll select training. You can see that. I'll select training. And I don't want the default database to be shown here. I just come out and then it shows only the training, right? Now you see this, I've got ID, name, address, modified. Now all of these are the columns, and this is the data that I have. I repeat once again, I need a framework. I need a framework to which I can provide the information through the annotation, right? That so and so class is my business entity, which is supposed to map automatically. It must understand that it is supposed to map to the table in the database, which it does. Just in case the name of the table is something else, then I'll say the name of the table is, you can see this, the name of the table is, I will give the name of the table. Maybe the name of the table in my database is cust, just cust maybe. Okay, I say cust, correct? But if I don't give this, it must automatically understand that the name of the table is what? As same as the name of the class. In the same framework, from the same framework, I expect the framework to allow me to tell the framework that you see, this is the identification. This is the identification. ID is the identification. Please note, ID is the primary key. And in the same framework, from the same framework, what I expect is that it must automatically understand that if the name of the property in the class is ID, the name of the column will be ID. If the name of the property is name, the name of the column will be name. And if the name of the my property is address, the name of the property here also is address. But at the same point of time, I'm expecting my framework to allow me to specify, for example, it's quite possible that the name of my property is name here, but here, suppose the name of the column in the table is customer underscore name. So I'll say customer underscore name. What does this mean? Now the customer will, now now my database will very well, my framework, sorry, my framework will understand that the name of the column in the table is not a name but customer underscore name, which is not the case, and hence I'm going to remove it. But so far, so good. And then finally, what is it that I'm expecting my framework to do? I'm expecting my framework to create an object of class customer, fire a select statement on the customer table. It must understand that the name of the table is customer. After retrieving the data from the customer table, it must create objects of customer class and populate the state of the customer object and then put it into an array list if I want to find all the rows. If I want to find a row based on the primary key, it must just take what the value of the primary key is and fire an appropriate select statement on the table where the value of the ID is whatever I have passed as parameter and return to me one single customer object. It is the responsibility of the framework to fire the select statement, to get the data, to populate the state of the customer object and return it back to me. I don't want to do all of that. So if this is the expectation from the framework, and if really such a framework is out there, wouldn't that be known as a framework that helps me to map my objects, map relational data to my objects? Come on, yes or no? Come on, yes or no? Right? So hence the name. This Hibernate is that framework. I repeat, Hibernate is that framework, object relational mapping tool. Okay, I'm calling it a tool. I better call it a framework. Okay, object relational mapping framework is what I have. You got that, friends? Any doubts, any questions here? What is an object? So this is the expectation from my framework. All right, this is the expectation from my framework. I will group this up so that it becomes easier. Perfect. This is Hibernate. So this Hibernate, Walaikum Salam, welcome. So this Hibernate framework provides me with not only these features of select statement, it will also help me to save an object in the database. Now, when I say save an object in the database, it doesn't mean that the object gets saved in the database. The data will be relational data, but it is the responsibility of Hibernate to generate the appropriate SQL statement, insert statement to insert the row in the customer. It is the responsibility of Hibernate to insert the statement, update the statement whenever I say I need to update it. It is the responsibility of Hibernate to automatically, fire a delete statement if at all I want the object to be deleted. In short, in my application, I will be working with what? SQL, or I will be working with objects? Tell me. I will be working with objects or SQL in my application. Objects, excellent. I will be working with objects. Who is supposed to fire corresponding SQL statements to the database? Who is supposed to yes, exactly. It is Hibernate which is supposed to manage the entire interaction as far as SQL interaction is concerned. You got that? And Hibernate is very smart. It has got different dialects. I repeat, it has got different dialects. It has got Oracle dialect, it has got MySQL dialect, it has got MS SQL Server dialect, it has got Cassandra dialect, and so on. So based on the dialect, it understands that there is a different database, and accordingly, it adjusts the features of the database. The way there can be still, though both are RDBMSs, Oracle and MySQL, they are both RDBMS, but still there can be some difference between the two, isn't it? And that difference is taken care of by Hibernate, so I don't need to worry tomorrow if I have to switch from MySQL to Oracle, do you think I will be making any changes to my application? Just one change, I will be changing the driver of the database. Instead of using MySQL SQL driver, I will be using, instead of MySQL, I will be using Oracle driver. That's it. And I will of course change the dialect. I will change the properties which helps Hibernate to connect to the database, and I will change the dialect to Oracle. These few changes, rest all the other classes will remain exactly the same. I hope you're getting the benefit of Hibernate, right? And we are going to learn a lot. We are going to learn a lot. Okay, we are going to learn a lot here. You're getting the point? As far as Hibernate and JPA is concerned, because as I said, unless you work on a legacy application, I repeat, unless you work on a legacy, and that too, I don't think you will get a chance to work on that a legacy application where you will be directly using JDBC. I don't think so. You will be lucky enough, I would say, in fact, to get a chance to work on some, some so very old and a legacy application wherein JDBC was directly used. I don't think so. You will be lucky enough. I am that lucky guy. When we had started with Java way back in 2001, I started learning Java and I'm still learning. So during those days, we were using JDBC directly. Correct. And then, we had enterprise Java beans, EJBs there. The life became easier, but then all the more difficult in terms of performance and stuff, and the speed at which we used to write code was tremendously bad. But then came in Spring, so the life became easier. We started working with Data JDBC and then Hibernate. So in fact, we did not start working with Spring directly. We started working with Spring and Hibernate as two different frameworks. All with me, friends, all with me. This is interesting. This is interesting. All there. We were earlier in early days. Let me put that point here. Okay, early days, early days. We used to work with an application, some kind of a web-based application wherein we used to use Spring plus Hibernate. These were the kind of job requirements in the market. Do you know Spring and Hibernate? That's what they used to ask. Do you know Spring and Hibernate? Like today they ask you, do you know Spring Boot and Spring JPA? Right? Those days, we used to ask the candidates, do you know Spring and Hibernate, Spring plus Hibernate? So Spring was a framework by itself, Hibernate and ORM framework all by itself. But then came in the time. Then came in the time. What was that? Spring started support for Hibernate. For Hibernate. Okay. So Spring provided support initially to start with for just Spring JDBC along with JDBC. But then, that Spring JDBC that we have talked about, but then otherwise they started supporting Hibernate as well. And then now, you know very well, this is the latest stuff. So if at all you happen to work on some legacy application, you may still end up, you may encounter Spring Data JDBC. And trust me, with all that we have discussed, it will be a matter of an hour or two at the most for you to get along with complete Spring Data JDBC. You see the code and you will be able to make sense out of, what that code is doing. Why? Because you know the architecture of JDBC template, you know ins and out of it, right from architecture perspective, right? And you will be able to start using it. Now, what is latest is this. This is latest. And this rules in the market today. So if you are working on any application today, which is very, very likely that it is going to be Spring based, that application will certainly be using Spring Data JPA. Hence, we will be spending a lot of time on this. I repeat, we will be spending a lot of time on this. Correct? Now, in order to close the point out here, what's the time? It's 11:21. Right? In order to close the point here, you see this. What I'm going to do, I'll keep everything as it is. I'll just go to my customer class. Okay. And in my customer class, you see everything that I've written will remain exactly as it is. My customer DO class, I'm going to change it. I'm going to change my customer DO class. I don't need these things at all now. And my get customer function, I will remove it. Why do you think I can very well remove it? Because the code is still there where I am in which branch? I'm in the topic JPA branch. So that code is still safe in which branch? The master branch. So we don't need to worry about it, isn't it? We don't need to worry about it. And then here I will do what? I'll say public. I'll write list of customer and I'll say get customers. I will go a bit fast on this. Don't worry. Why? Because I'm going to explain this to you all again. I just want to close the explanation of JPA. As I said, we will be discussing a lot about JPA and we're going to whole day do JPA. So please see this. What I'm going to do here is in the DAO class itself. or rather in the model class, model package, sorry, not the class, the package. Here itself, I will create a Java class, but it will be actually an interface, and I will call it customer repository. Customer repository. Okay, I'm going to add it to my Bitbucket. Okay, okay, the spelling is wrong. So customer repository. See this repository. Okay, this is correct. Okay, fine. And this is an interface. I will simply mark this as a repository here like this. That's it. But I will say this is a repository for what? I'll say this extends, I'll say JPA repository. You see this? For which model class? For the customer entity. And what is the data type of the primary key? I'll say the data type of the primary key is a integer. Okay, I will import customer. No compilation errors at all. Don't worry, I will explain this to you in detail. Okay, I will explain all of this to you in detail. I just want to close the loop. So I have that, and see how my life becomes easier. I go to my customer DAO. I will auto wire the customer repository. Oops, customer repository, and I'll say customer repository. And what am I going to do here? I'll just simply say return. See the benefit. Dot. I'll say find all done, my dear friends. Done. I'm done. See, did I write any JDBC code? Did I write any JDBC template related code? Did I fire any select statement? This is brilliant, isn't it, friend? See, customer repository is just that I declared this repository. I will explain this in detail. Don't worry. See the brilliance of this framework. I go to customer DAO, and in customer DAO, you see this. I say get customers and return customer repository. Find all. That's it, done. And the same thing will work like a charm. The same application will work like a charm. You see this here. I am on this. I say Spring application. I say refresh. You see this, I'm getting all the data. You got that? I'm getting all the data. You see this? All right. And I'm going to just commit this code. I will give you a tea break. I just want you to, I'll see getting started with instead of JPA. Now the new commit message is repository. Okay, repository. Don't worry, I'm going to come back and explain this to you in detail. Okay, don't worry about that. But I will give you all 10 minutes to go through this code. What is it? How will you get the code? I'll show you. How will you get both the branches? You see, how will you get both the branches? This is how. All with me, right, friends? All with me, all with me. Hello. Yes. So see, I'm going to go to my VDI, and on this VDI, can you see the Spring applications here? I'll go to get. I do not find anything other than master or anything, right? So a remote on this local machine, I do not have that branch. But remote, the branch is there, but this remote is not yet synced. So see, there is an option fetch all remotes. Can you see this? Please confirm to me. And then next time, don't come back and tell me how do I fetch the remotes. Please, all of you will confirm. Take a look what I've clicked on. Fetch all remotes. Right. So when I click on fetch all remotes, you see it will start fetching. Can you see this? It is fetching now. Right. And you see this? I've got topic JPA. So this is still, this is picked up, but again, remote, in the remote. So I click right mouse button here and I say checkout. The moment I say right mouse button and checkout, I get that here. Now you see this. This is the latest code. I click here. See this DAO. See this customer DAO. This is with the latest code. Can you see this? This is the latest code. Why is this still giving me an error? Because I did not refresh. Because in mom.xml, you know that pom.xml file is changed. And since pom.xml file is changed, you see this? It has now picked up JPA. All right, no errors at all. So you got to just wait for a few seconds and then there won't be any errors. Okay, you just refresh it once at the most. Okay, no errors at all. No errors at all. You see this? No errors at all. Everything is cool. So two things. You've got to refresh the fetch all remotes, click right mouse button on it, say checkout. You will get that over here, and make sure that you go to Maven and make sure that you say refresh and then come back and then run the stuff. Right, friends? All set? I'm sure you will be able to do this in next 10 minutes and then take a tea break of 10 more minutes. Right? Good, cool. So it's 11:27 almost. So we are going to come back at 11:50. Right, friends? 11:50. Okay? Good, good, good. Thank you so much. All the best. Peace. Start.